professional.
I try though. But anyway, speaking of professional, I was supposed to do this. All right. This is your host for the most of the time here in Sunnyside, Dubai. It's been a long time. It's been a hot minute. But I'm glad to get the Cryptocosm thing going. And I'm so grateful and excited to have Tobias. Is it Tobias or Tobias?
Tobias.
Tobias. All right. Okay. I know. It's a very American thing for me to say, hey, Tobias. I know. I'm sure some folks will get it. But man, it's good to see you. Last time we connected was last year on the XDcast, which was the official podcast of XD.com. So we got to talk about Ecash. We got to talk about CBDCs, and I don't know. I think maybe something else. I cannot remember, but just wanted to have you on board.
We didn't really schedule, but I can imagine that we'll just branch off in like 5,000 different topics.
That's true. Hey, look, I have to remind people that crypto is a multidisciplinary subject matter. It's not just about cryptography. There's more to it. Would you agree to that, or do you have a different take on?
Oh no, absolutely. I think the cryptography part is like the smallest part. Like I think the biggest one is like getting the. Like actually, I think the user experience is the most important, because at the end of the day, I think crypto, and I think that's like probably a lot of people would disagree, is that the crypto superiority lies in the better user experience over alternatives. So I think that what we can provide with crypto is just to give the user a better time. Unfortunately, this is not true at all with most crypto products. Most crypto products have horrible user experience, and they're just using it for something else. But yeah, that's my thought.
All right. Okay. No, that's interesting. No, because I was under assumption that usually a lot of people who I talk to, aside from cryptography, they talk about economics, they talk about banking or something. But it's very interesting coming from your side. You talk about the user experience, and I definitely agree with you on that, because, the reason I agree with that is maybe less than 5% of the world has some ownership or maybe use crypto. I don't not being a number to but at least I know it's still below 5%, which is abysmal in my point of view. I think that's ridiculous. It's kind of sad. But look, I guess let's dive on that. I mean, but I know you mentioned normally people, like most crypto-based projects have terrible user experience. So I mean, could you share more in detail, like why?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and just to clarify, I think that one of the I might even like break very, very much with other crypto people, where I say the innovation behind crypto. I mean, of course we got all the technical stuff, but like the big thing is that with crypto, it has a fundamentally better user experience than the traditional financial system, because it goes directly from person to person. Like this is like it emulates the cash, like how cash feels, right? So with crypto, you get the similar user experience, and people are very used to that. Whereas with financial services, you have all these intermediaries, you have things that can fail, you have all these things in between, and unfortunately, as you said, we are in this situation where like most crypto products, they have a really bad user experience, and I think that is because the base layers are terrible. And this is, by the way, why I'm in Ecash, because I think Ecash has by far the best base layer of all blockchains. I mean, we could go through a bunch of them, but I think the biggest one are BTC and Ethereum. And BTC, I mean, they already they're not even trying to be like, oh no, we're the best base layer. They're like, no, like, why are you using the base layer? And I'm like, okay, well, that kind of is sufficient for me, right? Like, you're supposed to use Lightning and so forth, but then Lightning derives its user experience from the base layer, so it just accumulates so much bad user experience.
No, glad you said that. Glad you said that. But hey, I just want to take some few steps back because you know because I know a lot of new people. They are getting into the crypto space or blockchain or call it DLT. I know some folks want to use that term for various reasons, but a friend of mine, he used to be part of the Bitcoin Association, BSV. He asked me, wait, what is Ecash doing? Wait, anyone using Ecash? But let's step, a couple of steps back. Can you just introduce to the new folks who are here, what is Ecash? And if I'm correct, is the ticker symbol of Ecash XEC?
Yes, correct. So the X.
Okay, all right.
So the EC in the abbreviation stands for Ecash. So
okay,
very very creative, and the X stands for it's kind of the international ticker icon, right? Like, I don't know, the British pound has a GB as the first two letters because that's like Great Britain. But Ecash doesn't have a country, so it has X instead. But yeah.
Interesting.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that's where these come from, or like XRP, those kind
of. Okay.
And some even use XBT for Bitcoin, but it's not really used that much.
Recognized.
Most use BTC. So Ecash, it basically is a fork of Bitcoin Cash, but we have to add to there that the people who forked from Bitcoin Cash were the founders of Bitcoin Cash. So it kind of was like a switcheroo where the original team of Bitcoin Cash, they kind of got like kicked out, I guess, of the community. And then they started Ecash. And Ecash still has pretty much the same vision as Bitcoin Cash originally, except there aren't many like really, really annoying people in there. Like what? Ecash is the quietest blockchain I've ever worked on. Like it is so relaxing. Like I now live in the mountains, and Ecash is very much like living in the mountains. Like you don't get a lot of noise. You just get people focusing on, I don't know, milking cows and making amazing watches or something.
Or in your case, you guys are doing the work, just working in the background, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where Ecash is coming from. So Ecash, Bitcoin Cash spearheaded by Amaury Séchet originally, and now same for Ecash. Again, spearheaded by Amaury Séchet, who is a brilliant coder. Like every time I talk to him, I learn something new, and I'm one of those coders who usually teach people. So he's definitely very high up there, and someone you actually want to have on your project. And Ecash has the vision of scaling the base layer. Right, so for some reason in crypto we introduced this idea of layers, and Ecash is kind of like I don't know, like let's why do we have to do this? Like there's so much room of improvement we have for the base layer. Like let's scale that, and actually now, ironically enough, the Federal Reserve of all people, they hired the best crypto developers in the world. From BTC, the maxis, they hired them, right? Like nobody talks about this. And when you do talk about that, they're like, well, everybody has to eat. We're like, well, okay. Well, that's a good stance to have, right? Everybody has to eat. And they built a blockchain that's very similar to what Ecash wants to do, and it shares a lot of the transactional structure, the architecture of Ecash. I mean, as Hotep Jesus put it, since you referenced him previously, they stole our shit.
Yeah, preach it, man. Oh, dude, I got so much to say, but I want you to please explain.
But I don't want to like. I mean, that's a little, putting a little provocatively, but to some extent, there's no denying that a little bit of that happened, and. Yeah, I mean, these ideas have been around for a while. And they were able to achieve on like if we put it on just one AWS instance, so I don't know if people know what that means. Basically, one server with like, I don't know, 21 gigabytes of RAM, which isn't a lot in server terms.
Okay.
They're able to process 100,000 transactions per second. So imagine your machine, it has like normal specs. It's like between like a high-end gaming computer and like a not good computer, like somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Because
And they're
in
able
my
to
mind,
process. Yeah.
so I didn't mean to interrupt. Just to step back in terms of servers, like, well, I imagine like your, say, like a regular office server from Dell. Would that be what you might be talking about? Because I know like you have servers like in data centers, then you got servers in the offices. So
Yeah, it's like they put it in the white paper what they used. Oh, not white. It's not a white paper anymore. It's like a legit research paper that they put out. Project Hamilton it's called. So if you guys want to search it, OpenCBDC is what you should put into the browser, and then I think it's opencdbc.mit.edu, something like that. But don't quote me on that. OpenCDBC. And there they have their paper that goes very thoroughly. And as far as I can remember, they used 31 gigabytes of RAM and I think 10 cores, something like that. So it's not like the beefiest machine in the world, but it's not like a Raspberry Pi or something. Like, let's not delude ourselves there. But it's something that is very much affordable, like very much affordable. I think on Netcap you could get a server like that for like $50 per month or something. I think.
Wow.
Netcap.
Wow.
But they have ridiculously cheap rates. I don't know how they do that. Probably they're just German and very, very efficient. So you can get that, and that instance using the software that released open source by the Federal Reserve. They're able to process 100,000 transactions per second on one of those machines. So that is crazy, of course. Maybe we don't want to go this much this quickly, of course, right? Like this is of course like, to put it in perspective, 100,000 transactions per second. Visa right now, there's probably like 5,000 transactions per second, and Visa is the biggest transaction processor on the globe, right? Like they are processing the most credit card transactions of all networks.
Now, just for folks out there, I can confirm it because I have some friends who work for MasterCard. I used to work for American Express. MasterCard is 8,000, but Visa has a very like humongous market share. So that's kind of ridiculous. I know a lot of people cannot imagine it yet, but I think give it some time. I think if you get the numbers, if there's some sort of infographic out there, I'm sure it'll make a lot of sense, because what you just shared is actually
Visa is the biggest. Visa is the biggest. It's actually really interesting. There's this book, One from Many, I think it's called One from Many, from D. Hock, which is the CEO or founder of, used to be, he's retired now, of Visa, right? Like he wrote the book. And it's funny because he's very much kind of on our side, right? He like wrote this whole book, and it's kind of like, oh, we got these big governments and these big corporations, and they're like really getting in our way and like destroying us, right? And he's like, okay, can we like decentralize things, right? So it's very interesting because Visa, by its corporate structure, it is very much imitating what we want to build. I mean, it's not imitating what we want to build, but like this structure of like, oh, we have a lot of very independent nodes that are like experts in their specific area. Visa is also structured this way, right? So I think
that's new to me. Wow.
Right? Nobody talks about that, right? Do you ever hear about someone talking about that? So Visa, I think we should actually look very, very closely to what Visa accomplished. And also, nobody's talking about that, right? Like if I ask you, who's the current CEO of Visa? Like Visa is a product that you use every single day. Or I mean, maybe you don't, but like we can imagine someone, we probably know someone who uses Visa every day, right?
Yeah.
And and it's crazy that we don't know who the CEO is. Like, I actually don't know. Like, I'm a little in a bad position. But if I ask you, who's the CEO of Tesla? Who's the CEO of Apple? Right? Like, we can tell that, and that is because Visa is just a very reliable system that just is there. Right? I hope I don't go too deep into.
No. This is great info. No. This is great info. No, please, do not stop. What you're sharing is just gold upon gold upon gold. Trust me. Like the people who I'm sharing with the Coffee and Crypto and people in LinkedIn and stuff. Like some of them are aware, but just like me, look, I was in the financial space too. I don't know who's the CEO of Visa. I mean, like that's kind of sad. Like and I barely remember the CEO of American Express. In the Middle East and globally. So, the thing is that like folks like me, we are so caught up in the business. We're not on the business. So please give us this knowledge. Please do not hold back. I think what you're sharing is really valuable.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So that's good. And so I think that I actually think that on the big scheme, these networks are kind of our competition. I think that PayPal is closer to our competition because they are like internet native, right? Like Visa is more for in-person purchases. Yeah. And actually in the Bitcoin white paper, it says that Bitcoin solves the same issue as cash, right? So if you do an in-person transaction, cash is just fine, right? But if you go on the internet, before Bitcoin, you don't have anything that's remotely like cash. And that changed after we had Bitcoin. Now we have something where you can send directly from the customer to the website or something. So that is what I'm focusing on, is how can we create the best payment user experience for the customer. And for me, Ecash is the best. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I'll pick whatever works best, right? Like I don't really get paid for my products to be on Ecash, right? I mean, sometimes they pay me to develop some software for them, but that's kind of separate, right?
Right, sure, yeah.
And and it's just like, okay, Bitcoin Lightning Network just doesn't cut it, right? Like it isn't something like the product I'm developing right now, and maybe we can get into that in like a few minutes. That is optimized for people who never heard really of Bitcoin, who don't care about Bitcoin, who don't want to invest. They just want to use it. Maybe they're a little drunk, maybe they're a little stupid, right? Like that is the customer I'm literally developing for, right? Like that is the kind of person that my product is for.
Like that.
And crypto allows us to do all of these things, right? And I think most importantly, it's non-refundable, right? Like with Visa and so forth, you get all of these problems, right? Like, chargebacks, right? And this is actually a huge issue. Like we as customers, we don't really see that, but once we are actually on the business side, then it's like, okay, well, did you think about chargebacks? That's like the number one question you can get.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because I guess I have some friends who are small business owners, and also like online entrepreneurs, coaches and stuff. So, they have to be aware, account, the platforms they're using, they handle all that. But again, I'm sure emails for regular Joes and Janes out there, if they, bought something and they want to return it, it's not instantaneous. Some of them do it where it takes like 3 days or 5 days or 7 days, depending on what banking settlement network and stuff or region. So, and
also, I mean, it is like, I'm going to quote the Bitcoin white paper way more than I intended to, but in the Bitcoin white paper, if you want to have buyer protection, right? Because you could have some store that's like telling you, oh yes, just send me money here, and then they never deliver the product. I mean, of course, that doesn't happen often, but if that would happen more often, then
right.
we can employ escrow, right? Like we can employ escrow services. We can actually employ non-custodial escrow services, so you don't even need to have any financial licenses. You can just be a server or whatever who's just like, okay, like I'm escrowing this transaction, and the difference there is that right now, all of these dispute resolutions are all made by Visa, right? But
Right,
maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want someone else to do that, and you and the buyer, the store and the buyer, they both agree. Okay, this person is the best escrow judge we could have right now.
Yeah.
So it is a very it's just like the transaction, Ecash, instant settlement, right? Like if I send something to you, it's there, right? Like there's no, like, I mean, right now there's like some scenarios, but they're working on adding pre-consensus actually. So maybe let me expand a little bit on like why Ecash is so incredibly interesting to me, and why I think it actually is better than, you know, BTC, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Zcash, right? All of these things. Ecash, it has the best of both worlds of Nakamoto consensus and Avalanche consensus. So people know that there's AvaX, right? Like the Avalanche token. But the consensus mechanism they're using is also called Avalanche, right? So it gets really confusing, but I'm specifically only talking about the math, the algorithm, the consensus algorithm called Avalanche, right?
Gotcha.
Not talking about the token. They're completely separate. Just so people know, because people get confused every time. Like, oh,
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Is Ecash running on AvaX? And like, no, we are a completely separate blockchain, and we're actually Bitcoin. Right? Like we're forked from Bitcoin. We trace way we're way older than than Avalanche. So that is that, and but since I said we're Bitcoin, we have the same proof of work algorithm as Bitcoin, right? So we are built on something that is tried and tested for 12 years, right? Like, there's nothing that's like realistically more tested than Bitcoin. And then what we do is we add on top of Bitcoin, we add the Avalanche pre-consensus, and this allows us to finalize blocks instantly, right? So you can, if you're a miner and you mine a block, you could get reorged, right? Like there could be a 51% attack. People talk about 51% attacks. They're like, oh, the danger of that. And then people say, oh, BTC is immune from 51% attacks because it's the biggest. But actually it isn't. It's very difficult because it's so big, but it's not immune at all. Whereas on Ecash, we might actually be more secure than Bitcoin right now, even if you're on the chain, because we have the second layer, the Avalanche, which finalizes blocks, and then you can't reorg them anymore, right? The software, like all the miners, if you come up with a new block, they're like, hey, you know, I got more accumulated proof of work. The miners will look, no, we already settled. We are on this block. So this gives very secure transactions very quickly. And now they're even expanding that. They're making it even like right now. I'm looking at the code they're writing, and they're like halfway there or something, to add Avalanche to every single transaction. And I think this is very, very huge, and which is why, you know, I'm putting so much time into Ecash, because that allows that means that a transaction once sent, it's immediately finalized, right? Like you send it over, and there's no attack that you can really do, other than maybe come up with some really crazy staking and mining attacks simultaneously. But in practice, these don't happen, right? Like Avalanche, the AvaX token, it never gets attacked through the consensus mechanism. And with Ecash, we have both. And you might be, okay, why do you have both? Wouldn't it be more efficient to just go only with Avalanche? And I actually would very much disagree, because I think that one of the biggest advantages of a Bitcoin is that you can that you have all of this proof of work that proves that you are on the longest chain. On EverX, you don't have that. You have to you actually have to trust the developers or whoever is setting up these servers. They're like, okay, this is the current state of the system, and you just have to trust us. Like, there's no way for you to verify that that is actually the biggest the current state of the system. Whereas with Ecash, you get all of this. Oh, someone spent like a group of people spent like a couple of billion of dollars of electricity of mining in order to get to this current state. So either someone spent this much electricity to fool me, or this is the legit chain. And with EverX, you don't have that. Except with Ecash, you also have all of the advantages of EverX. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You get instant finalization, right? Like Sir, like the guy, the professor behind that's pushing EverX. He's like always saying, "Oh, Avalanche, boom, instant there." But what they're not telling you is that Avalanche is not fully trustless, right? Like if you joined all the way back from the beginning, then it is trustless, right? Because like you see everything that's happening. But when you join later, you have to have like someone who introduces you to like, no, this is what is going on, and you have to believe us. And that is not the case at all in Ecash, and makes me really excited about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, thanks for sharing that. I can sense, really passionate about it, and it's kind of cool that, it still has that connection to the Genesis block of Bitcoin, so, but I think that's kind of like, I think that's kind of interesting too. So, as far as this Ecash is concerned, you guys are layer 1, but your guys are just focusing on, focusing on the aspect that it should be kind of like a peer-to-peer electronic cash, right?
Yeah.
Does Ecash has any ambitions to be more than just a peer-to-peer electronic cash system for the world? Like, could it be like a data layer? Is it just purely just the finality, right? Just finance?
So I think the answer to that is we just want to be finance, and that is and I think that is for a very good reason. I do not think, like, if people start putting ordinals on Ecash, I think we as developers did something, as developers of the blockchain did something wrong, because I don't think that blockchains are very suited, or like the thing that we want to do is very suited for that. And Ecash, they will always prioritize transactions that are about, basically, like, to put it very technically, about creating and destroying UTXOs. Like that is what Ecash is very good at, about creating something that that can only be destroyed once, right? And that I think is in my opinion, that is the big thing that Satoshi solved with Bitcoin. It is about like if I sent you something, how do you know that thing on my end is now gone, right? If I sent you, here's a picture of my cat, like, and I promised I deleted it, like you can't know, right? Like there's no way for you to know that except by going over to me and looking into every single hard drive I could have, right? But with Bitcoin, we finally have something that is provably removed, right? And that is something that we never had before. So, for example, and you might, this sounds very esoteric. Okay, how could this be useful? But for example, how we use it, and this is a project done by Cyprian Bucks. What they're doing is that you can buy a mint authorization code, and using that mint authorization code, you can create some bucks, which is basically a stable token, right? Like it's something that you can always get back for a similar for the same amount of minus some fee for dollars. Right? So if you have $50, you can turn that into $50 in your PayPal. and it's an incredible thing because it's so fast. And that again goes back to the user experience. In my opinion, there's no stable token anywhere that has as good as a user experience as Blocks, even though it's relatively small. But the growth numbers are actually insane, right? So I'm not affiliated with that project. I just am friends with the guy, and I use it in my own products.
Gotcha.
But it is the easiest stable token to acquire. And how do we get back to the like provably destroyable? Every mint authorization code, it only really works because like if I sell you like a code and you're like, oh, you can redeem this for $100 on the chain. You're like, how do I know you can only redeem it for $100 once, right? Like maybe you can come back again and again and just, okay, $100. Obviously, that would instantly break the system. But with the invention of Bitcoin, we now have the ability to be like, okay, you can only use this code once. After that, like you destroyed something, and that is on the blockchain, that you can't ever reuse. So I can sell you a piece of software, I can sell you a piece of code, and I know that you can only use this once, right? And and on that you can build a financial system, right?
Right. Yeah. That was okay. No, it's interesting. Yeah.
Nobody really puts it that kind of way, right? Like this is kind of a novel way to think about blockchain, and that is the reason. Why, to get back to your question, that is the reason why Ecash wants to focus on financial stuff, because Bitcoin specifically is very, very good at this operation, right? Like this kind of computation, and this is actually a very, very valuable computation, right? And like for example, you referenced data layer. We already have very, very good data layers. For example, BitTorrent, right? Like BitTorrent is a very, very good thing to share data. We also have IPFS, right? Very good to share data. And I actually think that a blockchain is very poorly suited as a data layer because it shares everything, right? Like all the state is entirely shared by everyone. But if I send you a cat picture, nobody else needs to know that, right? Like this is literally waste for everybody else. So, and I think this is where BSV is going a very different route from Ecash specifically, and
because I guess when it comes to BSV, as far as I understand from because I know Jimmy Nguyen, he was the founding president of Bitcoin Association, and I'm sure you might know the guys from Crypto Vigilante, Rafael Verde. But I mean, what he mentioned was BSV, they're trying to, I guess, create a whole new internet in a sense. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, I like the idea of a whole new internet. I guess I think that's great. It creates new economic opportunities. We can try some wonderful ideas and stuff. So
well, my opinion on that is that, and maybe people disagree with that, but if you actually study the internet, and with the internet I mean the IP and TCP protocol. So this is again very technical, but if you study those protocols, then you will find that they are actually incredibly resilient. Why is that? These protocols were designed to survive a nuclear war, right? Like that is where these protocols came from. They were specifically designed to be decentralized, to have no one point of failure, and to be self-healing, right? The IP protocol, if one node gets destroyed, the IP protocol routes around that destroyed node, right? Like let's say it got attacked by an enemy military, no problem. The data just goes a different route, and you can still connect people. And the internet was designed by the military, right? It was designed by
DARPA, DOD, and then some labs in Palo Alto. Yeah, I now remember.
Right?
Okay. No, thank you for that. Now kind of makes sense.
So that is my in my opinion that's very, of course, like there is some problems like ISPs, right? Like internet service providers and so forth. You have to get But on the other hand, it's also very well established infrastructure, right? So I'm not saying that the internet is very decentralized and so forth, but if you wanna solve the same issues, the base protocol is designed to withstand these kinds of attacks. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, and we also have to be like, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I am like, okay, is there a problem that I can solve? And with problem, I mean something very specific. It's something that ideally many people have, right? Something that's ubiquitous, that is very severe, right? Someone who's like desperate to get a solution, and something that person who's this desperate has all the time, right? Like these three criteria it should have. Something that very many people have, that is very, very painful, and that is that happens all the time, right? So Uber is a great example, right? Everyone needs transportation, so it's a lot of people. It is a very severe problem, right? Like if you're stranded in a club or something and you can't find a taxi, you'll have that, and it's something that you need all the time, right? You basically need that every day, maybe even sometimes multiple times a day. So
agreed.
So a very, very big problem, and I think that many crypto projects, they're none of the three. Like they're like some cool thing that is kind of cute, that like maybe applies to some people, maybe some shadowy supercoder who wants to like have a different kind of internet that is somewhere else, and they kind of do it for fun, and they don't use it that often, and they're like, well, like that is basically the worst kind of customer you could possibly have, right? So that is why I'm focusing on people who, number one, don't care about crypto, who have problems that are solvable by crypto, and where I can I mask as much as possible. So if you look at my current project, it feels very much like PayPal, right? It has one balance. The balance is in US dollars. It's stable, right? There's no fluctuation. It doesn't go up and down in value. You don't have to be an investor, right? You don't. Actually, we don't want you to invest in this really, because it just increases our cost. and and yeah, so that is the that's my opinion on that. And it's very different from what you hear from many people, but I think it's something that is much more in line with, like, for example, Michael Seibel, who's the founder of Twitch TV, right? Something.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you listen to him, he'll say the exact same things as me, and that is because I listen to him. So obviously, I'm gonna parrot that. But he's from Y Combinator, right? Like he is now doing, and like he's vetting projects all the time, and he's like, well, like if you don't have these three things, like don't be the most important thing is, he says, don't be solution oriented. And I think basically every crypto project right now is solution oriented. They're like, okay, we got this new, I don't know, like probably zero knowledge proofs are like the best example of that. Zero knowledge proofs, incredible math. Like they are literally magic. Like they're indistinguishable for magic for like basically everyone, including the people who do zero knowledge proofs. And because that's pretty much by definition what they are. But a lot of these projects, I think, are coming from, we got this incredible solution, but the number of problems that it's solving, I think, isn't really that big. You could see like privacy coins and like black market and so forth. Yes, that I would agree, but it's not something for the mainstream. It's not something where like people, where like normal people would, start using that. Also, it has fluctuation and so forth. So
I agree. I mean, like I'm more like a Monero guy, and Monero uses bulletproofs. I have some of my co-hosts for this Coffee and Crypto meetup I run over here. He's from Panda Protocol, so they use zero knowledge like ZK Snarks and all that. So, but I also do see there is, I think the next wave or trend would be zero knowledge. But again, I think to go back what you said earlier, like for regular Joes and Janes out there, they wouldn't really care that much. If it solves a problem, great. I think a lot of the blockchain stuff needs to be, like behind the scenes, like then parrot it out there. Hey, we're using this blockchain or that blockchain. I think you're going to lose a lot of people just talking about it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I guess.
And at this point, I actually get a little like, not irritated, but like I'm rolling my eyes when like I'm presenting people my product, and they're like, "Oh, which blockchain are you on?" And it's like, "Oh, well, first of all, why do you care?" I mean, that's not what I tell them. I tell them Ecash, of course, but I'm like, why is this so important to you? And then at some point they like start asking questions. Okay, why Ecash? And like, what's the thing? And like, well, I mean, are we solving the problem, right? Like these kinds of things.
Yeah.
For me, like, why aren't you focused on the problem that we're solving, right? And I mean, and now people are more, right? Because that's so don't be solution oriented.
Yeah.
Be problem oriented. So, okay, I want to hear more about your problem, right? Like, why is your customer feeling this pain, and what are you doing? How is your solution then solving this pain? And I think this is what entrepreneurs should focus. I think exclusively focus on. Solutions are like little tools that are in your toolbox, and you should be aware of them and you should study them. But it's not that what you should focus all your time on. You should focus most of your time on finding problems that people have, right? And be like very like almost have like this radar, and to be like, oh, I see, like, and you have to be like a very empathetic person for that, right? To be like, oh, someone here, he's like suffering, he has a problem.
Yeah.
I can fix that, right? I can help that, and I can charge money for that, right? Like that is
sure.
Right? Like that is what the perspective that we should have.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. And I definitely agree with what you just said right there. Because it kind of reminded me, like, being here in Dubai, we have a lot of crypto activity going on. There's a lot of buzz out here. And I think a lot of the projects I have come across, me being a previous, podcast host, like talking to different projects and stuff and events here, something I noticed that, to connect what you said about solutions, right? Everyone has a solution. And I feel like, they're trying to search for a problem, really. Then something, so like they have a solution, but they don't know what problem to solve. I don't know. It's, they kind of getting ahead of themselves. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I've seen that quite a lot. So in your space, I think I personally feel I think this thing is still going on. Very few people are actually, looking for the big problems, seeing is there a big market or any value. Like that's something me and my other colleagues from this new venture we're trying to start. So like, what we realize is like, we need to look for problems and see like, is it viable? Is it feasible? Does it make sense? Is it worth our time? Right. Mm-hmm. So,
and a lot of the time, blockchain is not the answer. Like I actually went to Davos in Switzerland.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's like blockchain hub and everything. I didn't go to the World Economic Forum specifically. Just
Oh, all right. Okay. I thought you went to meet with Klaus Schwab. I'm like, man, what's going on, man?
Like, hey, Klaus. We can talk in German. What's going on?
Okay. Yeah. Hey, you own. Hey, look. Look. See, I'm owning something, man. I'm happy, man.
Well, then you are not the perfect customer for the Great Reset.
Yeah. So there was a block.
They're also just solving problems, right? No. Anyway, that's...
Yeah, I don't know about that. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry. We can always
I'm just joking. But like, but I think that's like they are not embodying the same idea. Like I went there and they're like. One thing that made me really cringe was like there was like a blockchain like event kind of thing where like people were like presenting stuff and talking about stuff and everything, and they were like, okay, how can we integrate blockchain into your company, right? Like, how can blockchain help your company? And I'm like, well, that's kind of like the other way around. How I would think. Like, first of all, do you have a problem, and is blockchain even the right solution? But like they presuppose that no, blockchain solves everything. Like blockchain is this universal solution that you should use for everything.
Oh, come on, Tobias. Have faith, man. You know, I believe blockchain is going to change the world and make it a better place. You know, get all Michael Jackson on you. You know, start singing. You know, this kumbaya.
But this is incredibly dangerous. Right? Like this is an incredibly dangerous view, and you know, I used to have that a little bit, but it's something that you kind of have to shake yourself out of. Because it is very destructive. It's a very destructive belief because it literally eats up all your time. Because like, well, I have some random problem. I don't know, like I want to get a glass of water. How can blockchain fix this, right? But you should step back. It's like, okay, like, what problems are there? And then let me pick the one problem as a blockchain developer, right? Let me pick the one problem where blockchain solves this problem the most, right? So of all the problems that we have, and they can be anything. So if you want, I can talk a little bit about the product that I'm working on right now.
No, sure. Hey, please do. Yeah. Hey, I'm down for it, man. I'm always here to learn.
Yeah, and we haven't launched it, right? So
nice. Okay. Yeah.
We're not launched it. We're still in development. We have a bunch of tests, and you know, like every time you fix a little kink here and there, and but you're very very close. To launching. So you know, we pretty much already have an MVP and everything. It's just that we want to.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, well, you only get first impressions once, and we don't want to like screw up.
Fair point.
Our users.
I guess the idea is that like, if I correct me, I'm wrong. You're trying to move from like MVP, a minimal viable product, to actually a minimal sellable product. Would that be the essence of it, really?
Yeah. Like, because like the thing with blockchain is it's inherently, you inherently have a chicken and egg problem in crypto, because crypto is always about moving stuff from here to here, right? So you always have a here and here, and that always means you kind of have two customers. Right, you have a sender and you have a receiver, and in our case, so the project I'm working on is called Pay to Stay, and if you Google that, you're gonna get a hotel company. We're not that. We're a different one, something different, and we are a company that allows you basically to monetize your time, and specifically for events, right? So if you imagine you're doing an event, and you want people to pay for being at the event, but only for every minute they attended, right? So if you go there for like, I don't know, 10 hours, you're going to pay for like, let's say it's 10, like, I don't know, $5 an hour, you're going to pay $50, right? And of course, fees and whatever. But if you're going to stay for only 1 hour, you're only going to pay $5, right?
Interesting. Right? Yeah. Okay. Right? Yeah. Okay. Please go on. This is really interesting because just let you know, Dubai is all about events and conferences and keynote summits. So
already your mind is
I'm
like,
now.
Where could this apply? Right? Like, where can I?
You see these poppy eyes? You know,
right?
It's a
little blurry.
So please go ahead.
It's compressing your eyes, but I can.
No, please, but honestly, please go ahead. I think this is something I never thought about, so it's cool.
So one application would be like where you have something where like something secondary is going on, and you can't monetize that, right? So so for example, you want to have your friends over and you want to play some cards or whatever. You can't monetize that, right? Because then you would need to have a gambling license. But with Pay to Stay, you can charge people to come into your house, and then if they play cards, that's totally fine, right? And you actually do have a lot of costs, right? Like you have to pay for electricity, you have to pay for lighting, you have to pay for drinks, for whatever. Right?
True.
Water isn't free. and all of that, and you also don't want to like if people just hang around and do nothing, like they also cost you something, right? And with pay to stay, you get money from them, right? And now, okay, how does this tie to crypto, right? So why would I use crypto for this? But if you think about it, how would you build this using, let's say, PayPal or whatever, right? So
I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah, that's hard to imagine. Actually, I don't think it's possible. Yeah.
So first of all, people will be like, no, I didn't stay there. I didn't go to this party at all. Refund, and then good luck proving that person actually went to that party, right? Are you gonna pull out some video footage, right? Are you gonna record every guest and then send that over to PayPal? Yeah. Like your guests are never gonna come back if you do that once, right? They're like, wait, what? You can't. I didn't want to be recorded, right? And maybe maybe you are fully in your right to record them, but that doesn't mean that the guests is gonna be happy about that, right? And you want to have happy customers.
Yeah. Right.
So you don't want that. But with crypto, we have something called cryptographic proof. That's what the crypto stands for, right? We have cryptography.
Bang! Yes.
So what we do is that when you want to check in, when you want to come into the event, there's a doorman, and they have to scan you in, right? Otherwise, they don't let you in. And usually that's like a big bulky marine guy, right? So there we don't need cryptographic proof. We need proof of muscle, right? Other than that,
hey, look, that's true. Hey, here in Dubai, we got a lot of security. We got like guys who are like toxically masculine guys.
Toxic masculinity. Yeah. Proof of toxic masculinity. That's much better.
Yeah, I know, right?
I like that.
Yeah, I know. We're about to go like Andrew Tate in this bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
but whatever. So please. We can use that for comedic purposes very much.
Absolutely.
I'm not a toxic masculine guy at all. I'm actually a very agreeable guy. Ladies, if you want to date me, I'm no Andrew Tate. It's just not my personality. So whatever.
That's right. But So you talk about the doorman at the entrance or conference.
When you want to come in, I mean, I can actually show you on screen a little bit.
Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's great. Okay, so you have like some sort of like an app or something like, people can scan.
Yes, and people are sending me messages. So
you are super popular, my guy.
So this is kind of what it looks like. The app. Right, and then and you can go to different events, right? And then the doorman, they can scan your QR code.
Gotcha.
to check you in, right? I don't have an event set up right now, but that's basically the idea. Yeah.
Okay, so I can imagine hey guys, come to the Ecash conference here in Dubai, 2023, somewhere in November. Who knows? So hey, if you want to enter the place, hey, look, this is a whole different event. There's no bronze, platinum, titanium, or double uranium package or something. Hey,
plutonium.
Plutonium, yeah, hey. So just download this app, and you're just paying it by how much time you're here. So this is the rates and stuff. Come as you go, as you please, so you don't have, we value your time, and you also got to value our time, blah, blah, blah. I know you can work some marketing message. So download the app, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And
our current slogan is time is money. I don't know if we want to stick with that. It's a little materialistic, but that's kind of what we.
But I think that message would kind of resonate with a lot of people. Okay,
time is money.
Because,
Why not monetize it, right? And of course we're gonna have some specific applications initially that are like fixing a very urgent problem, and I think we found that, but I don't want to go into too much details.
Sure.
But eventually this could be for a lot of things. Like let's say you're meeting with a lawyer, like paying a lawyer is always a little tricky. Because let's say you really are in a role, right? And you are getting so much information from him. You want to stay longer with him, right? You want to have more time, but he doesn't, because you pay him usually like, okay, like this is like you like when last time I went to an American lawyer. Germans are different, but in America you pay up front, sometimes in cash, and then you get this much time. And actually, if you don't fill up that time, you wasted, right? Like if you only use like 15 minutes out of 30 minutes, they don't refund you usually.
Yeah. Okay.
But with pay to stay, your lawyer can like continue talking, because every second and it's actually down to the second, right? Like every second he talks to you, he gets, I don't know, a cent or 5 cents or whatever, right? And,
okay.
And yeah, so you can see how this could apply to more and more people. And this is just for in person, right? Like we are currently optimized for where there's like some kind of physical barrier, right? Like some kind of door that you have to enter. But you could easily see how you could change that to the digital world, where instead of there being a physical door, there's a digital one, where like if you don't pay anymore, we could just cut the video stream, for example, right? So if you don't, if you aren't paying anymore, like let's say you are in a coaching situation, right? Like I'm talking about, hey, here is how to make money using crypto, buy my shitcoin. No, just kidding. And I want to be paid for that, and you run out of money. Then the product is just automatically gonna be like, oh hey, you ran out of money, the video stream ended, please send more tokens, and then it's gonna continue. So you can see how this could apply for a lot of things.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, this is interesting stuff, because that event thing kind of caught my. I guess kind of caught my attention. So
and maybe you're one of a good. You might be a good customer, right? Because it is a application I think that would fit quite well in Dubai, because I think these kinds of things happen there quite often. And
actually,
events,
way too many. I'm sure some folks will follow me. Or, like there's a lot of events happening. This evening, I'm going for like a meetup. Tomorrow, like there's a 3-day event at the Dubai Internet City called Step Conference. It's all about tech and finance and stuff. So yeah, I mean that'd be kind of interesting to see how this thing can work. I know not many people might be used to it, but I guess again, it's running at events and stuff. It is a capital intensive affair, really. So if you have sponsors and all that stuff, like either they're happy or they're not, or they're thinking of the long game, that kind of thing. So and also, hey, if you want to open to the public too, hey, like instead of paying like $100 or $200, like to me it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I would prefer to go for free, but hey, it is like just $5 to enter the place, just check out and stuff. If it's interesting, great. If it's not,
it allows it allows you to go to a much wider audience, because it's like, well, you can come, and if you don't like it after 10 minutes, you can leave. And you're not going to pay much money. And actually, like for like one person, they were like, they wanted to go to a festival, but they only wanted to see one specific band. They only wanted to see Red Hot Chili Peppers.
All right.
They could only buy the full ticket, right? They could only buy the $500 ticket or whatever for the entire thing. And of course, that's kind of like the way, that's kind of like the idea behind that. But they lost this specific customer because they're like, I'm not going to pay that much money. Like, it's not worth that much to see them, right?
Sure. Okay.
But if they had pay to stay, they could be like, okay, like they start here and they finish here. So let me buy my time, go to the event, check in when they start, and then check out when I and maybe they're like, oh well, actually I want to stay longer. Good for them, right? And then you can see how this also aligns the incentives a little bit more, because right now all of these events are like, oh, you bought the ticket and you didn't refund it. Okay, we're good. If the event is good or bad, how long you're staying, how good your time is, kind of secondary. Maybe the only thing we really want you is to come back the second time again. So maybe we can like make a little bit good marketing, like, oh, remember how great it was last time, and of course you only remember the good time. But with this, the host is incentivized to make people stay as long as possible. Of course, don't lock them up, but to like make them, oh, you don't want to stay a little longer, right? Like we got some extra event, some after parties and whatever. And I think this just kind of forces hosts to be better hosts, right? So I think there's a huge value add for the customer there.
No, sure. I think, I do like this idea. I know it is a little bit a fringe idea, but also at the same time too, like, I mean, look, I've been to a lot of events, and most of them are not that great, to be really honest. Very few really, catches my attention and stuff. And a lot of people over here in Dubai, I know, it's more like a speed dating, business networking kind of thing. I do like it to some extent, but for the most part, if you're in the tech space, blockchain and stuff, sometimes the business stuff just kind of like devalues like the whole thing. Like I think it's more like a personal thing. But again, I think in terms of time and value and how to be a great host and how to make it more attractive, I think it puts the pressure on us to, be different, not to be too lazy or just simply follow the same format. So I'm sure, you have attended quite a lot of events in the blockchain space. They tend to be kind of cookie cutter, right? Would that be fair to say? So
yeah. Some of them are. Of course, my event, the Electronic Cash Conference, very, very different. At least according to reviews. But like most of them are. Like there's always, I think, if I try to boil it down, there's like two kinds of people. There's these insanely technical people who are giving a very, very technical thing of something that is very niche. Those are usually quite interesting, but there like isn't a big problem there. And the second ones are the hype men, who are like, oh, this technology is going to change the world as we know it. You are not going to live in the same world because of this token, right? And also you should buy that token. I might be
that guy. I'm somewhere in the middle between the autistic guy and the hype. Like, hey, yes, I mean, right? I'm not that of a sleazebag guy, the saying.
I didn't want to attack you. I'm just saying that's how I perceive most events.
I agree. Yeah. No, I agree. Look, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. That's
and as a developer, of course, I'm like, I already got a token, right? I have something that works. Maybe you can give me like a new database or a new whatever. But yeah, and also what we're using, it's called Bux, B-U-X, from Cyprian, and that allows us to within the app, right? I can show it right here. I can click on add balance. I can enter how much money I want. Let's say $2. I can click on purchase mint authorization code. So you can see PayPal, right? I can use PayPal right away. And I mean, I can continue that. There. And it'll just like it'll just book it right off my PayPal. I mean, I'm not gonna finish that, but you get the idea. Then what I get a self mint authorization code right away, right? Right away. I don't have to wait anything or whatever. I click on and then my wallet is going to create a stablecoin using this mint authorization code on the blockchain, and the money is going to show up right away, right? You can see $3.09. That is what I currently have on this phone, on this app, right? And that way you immediately expand your customer base. Very, very, like, basically anyone can be a customer, because you don't need any kinds of investors or anything that have to buy the token, right? You can just use it right away. And that basically allows us to use crypto because crypto has a lot of advantages, because we actually don't want to be a payments company, right? Pay to stay is, at the end of the day, it's a measurement company, kind of. Measurement company that also creates some signatures that you can use on your own disposal, right?
Gotcha. All right.
That way we don't need any banking license. We don't need any like money transmitter license. We're not a money transmitter.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that way we can, and also like we don't have to do any KYC, because like we're just a wallet at the end of the day, right? Like we don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
People can just go to events without that, and that is very, very helpful.
Yeah. So when you mean about wallet now, because I think one of the questions that comes to mind is it custodial or not, or self?
Oh, non-custodial. Wallet? I don't really call non-custodial, but I don't really call custodial wallets custodial, because like what would be the equivalent of cash in the real world? Would you call a bank vault where you put your money into like the vault in the bank? Would you call that a wallet? Like that's a very far stretch, right? Like it isn't really.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, okay. No. Thank you for explaining that. Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point.
Because like and like nothing wrong with custodial quote unquote wallets. I would call them more like accounts, or like I think account would be more what I would use. Because an account, it has this accounting in there, so someone else is doing like the accounting for you. Whereas a wallet is like it's a physical thing, and there's money inside, and I can pull it out, right? That kind of thing. And that is the wallet. So we are completely non-custodial. That also doesn't make us a money transmitter. Yeah. And people now are kind of using like unhosted wallet. I kind of find that unhosted sounds a little like, okay, so it's like we don't use a host, but like we have something called a host, like our IP address or something. Like it's a weird term, and I hope it falls out of fashion. But
yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, we're still early. There's still a lot of people still learning about the space. So I think there's also, it'll take time for the culture to also change too. So. I guess we're just ahead of the times, my man. We're just ahead of the times.
Yeah. Kind of. But I think the time is right. Like it, and for me, it took a really long time to figure out what is actually important about crypto, and that is why now I'm focused on stable tokens and stable coins, because I think that is, and kind of evidently, that is the killer app, or like one. Like it's a killer token of crypto, right? Like the most volume by far is on Tether, and if you then go the other ones,
true, agree.
The second and third, I mean, I don't know exactly what they are, but then if you sort by volume, the biggest ones are all stable tokens, because they're just so insanely useful, because they're basically like a dollar bill that you can send to anyone. If you have a Bitcoin, then you could also say, well, yeah, if I have a Bitcoin, or like a fraction of a Bitcoin, I can also send that to anywhere in the world. But it might be that next week, the value of that is very different. So as an entrepreneur, this is very, very difficult to put it into a good product, because you need to be able to do accounting, right? Like if you are like let's say you use, in the pay to stay, we didn't use a stable token, we used Bitcoin. And let's say the same user experience, except for the value. First of all, we would have to display two balances. We would have to say your current Bitcoin balance and your current US dollar balance. The Bitcoin balance stays the same, but the US dollar balance, it goes up and down. So that already adds, like a big complexity. Most people, they don't really understand that Bitcoin, like for them, Bitcoin goes up and down. That's like the kind of thing it does. But But with a stable token, you don't have that. And also, let's say you're a host, you get like, I don't know, $10,000 in Bitcoin, and then you need to pay out your bills. But let's say the
Yeah.
next day it's only worth $9,000. That's not unrealistic at all. So what you're gonna do? Like you're just short on $1,000 just because the market didn't do what it's supposed to do, and there's nothing you can do about that, except using a stable token.
Yeah, I think that part. No disagreement from me. I think I'm in total agreement with you. As someone who's been here for quite some time, I'm also. I just come to a slow realization that, like, Tether has been the most used one. I mean, like, and a lot of people here, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I do see a stable. I'm already seeing the signs of a stable coin wars happening.
I mean,
I guess in
the every currency war is a stable coin war. Like the US dollar is also competing in there, right? So I don't really see it as a war, more like as healthy competition, and and it's going to be exciting where things are going to go, for sure.
Yeah. So So I guess, but I think this is, but I hope, like, a lot of people would catch up to this idea, because I'm not seeing it yet, though. So, but it's but like, listen to you, Cyprian, share some of the stuff. I think it's I think slowly people will get it. So I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And and eventually we'll look for more people to hire, right? Like especially developers. And if people are interested, I mean, you can always tweet at me at TObias Ruck, TObias Ruck, we might say in America. And or you can send me emails, contact@be.cash.
Okay.
And
I will share the details in the description below, as usual. Yeah. So man.
Perfect.
No, definitely. But hey, no. First of all, thank you for taking the time, sharing your sharing your insights on Ecash and also pay to stay. That's quite interesting. But definitely, would love to have a conversation with you. I think there is great marketing, branding opportunities, and for that kind of service, I think that's something it's quite innovative, because not many people I know are talking about it or anything like that. It's I've been hit up with so many, like, projects, meme coin projects, shitcoin projects, but no,
but that's where,
conversation about.
Just to clarify, and like we've already gone quite a while, but I think this was very enjoyable for me. But I took a different approach there, right? Like someone basically, like the way pay to stay came to happen, like they had a problem, and that problem was actually incredibly painful. I don't want to get into the details, but they had a big problem.
Yeah.
And they came up with a solution, and they were kind of looking for someone, and I was like, hey, I have the perfect tool for you. And that tool happened to be Bucks, happened to be crypto. And they were like, oh, this actually is very, very applicable here. So you can see, like, changing the angle of, like, hey, I got a problem that at the core has nothing to do with crypto, right? It has to do with events, right? You have an event, and you want to do that very reliably without chargebacks, because one issue is that people get salty, like they get mad or whatever, and they do a chargeback, and like what are you going to do, right? But with so that is one of the issues there, and that is solved. And for that, if you just change the angle of, like, hey, let's start with the problem, and that is actually what Michael Seibel would preach every single talk, right? Okay, start with the problem, search for problems, be focused on the problem, and then based on that you can see, okay, what is the best solution that we can have for that. It's not, okay, how can I like retrofit my solution somewhere? I mean, in my case, it was kind of like I knew that blockchain was very, very applicable for a lot of problems, but I was like, okay, let me find a very, very good, let me find someone who is looking for someone who has a solution like me. All right. That is, I think I said that 3 times already, but it's just so important.
No, but it's worth repeating. It's worth repeating because, hey, look, I think time and time again, you know, a lot of people have made these mistakes. It's not, I mean, like, you know, people, you know, who have the solutions, they're looking for they're not a problem, you know, looking for a problem. They're just looking for solutions. You know, they take a different approach. I mean, how many times this happened time and time again? And even also some of the mainstream media have mentioned that, you know, they're not really solving a problem in the marketplace, right? It's so that I think
that's actually on us. Like the mainstream media isn't really lying if they're saying, well, crypto isn't solving a problem. And maybe they helped engineer that a little, like, you know, like if, like, to be honest, the initial Bitcoiners are very different from the later Bitcoiners because all the mainstream media reported on was Bitcoin price went up, right? Like, oh, it is now $20,000 or whatever. And then they're like, oh, it's now $4,000. Bitcoin is dead. Okay, well, like, what? That's not how it works. Bitcoin still works. You can still send. Actually, the cheaper, like the worse the Bitcoin price, the more usable Bitcoin is. So the lower the Bitcoin price is, the more alive Bitcoin is to some extent, at least. Right? Because you can send transactions cheaper. So
true.
But that is unfortunately, and in my opinion, either purposefully or not unaccidentally, that they are focusing very much on like, oh, Bitcoin is just about speculation and not solving any problems. Because like that's the only thing they report on, right? They just report on the speculation, but they never report on solving the problem. Because, you know, and it's understandable because like many people who are like in charge, like they don't want anything else to solve the problem of currency, right? Like they want to be in control of saying who can send to who. And this is also why they're like building the CBDCs, right? The CBDCs are Bitcoin technology. You have to keep that in mind. They are taking Bitcoin and removing parts, actually. Like that's what they're doing. They're taking the Bitcoin technology and it's so good, it's so well engineered that it's too powerful for them actually. So they have to remove parts to insert themselves again. Right? Like that is actually what is technically happening on the end. So we actually have better technology right now than what they're even building. But you know, we're focused on the wrong things. But you know, I want to focus on the real things. I think Bitcoin is like so incredibly powerful that like I don't think it's a no-brainer. We have to actually put in the work. We actually have to be focused on solving problems. But I think in general, blockchain is so powerful that we can, like, I think in the long term we will win, so to speak.
I agree. I agree too. But I think, but now, you know, we all are going through this process, and I guess there's a lot we could. I guess for me, I know I can learn from this. So we could definitely, you know, put ourselves out there, get the messaging out, and I think change the trajectory of where this industry is going, you know, and also for the world too.
Yeah, and I hope this inspired some people to watch talks by Michael Seibel. Seibel. From Y Combinator.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I
think the best one is called Building Product, and I feel like there's an article missing in there, but the title is literally Building Product. If you type that in Y Combinator, Building Product, it's a very unsuspicious talk, very like, oh, just another PowerPoint presentation, but it has so much value in there because he built $1 billion company, right? Like.
Yeah, Twitch is pretty. I mean, it's super popular. I mean, like for live stream gaming and stuff.
Right,
I mean,
Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch. I mean, yeah, you're twitching, right? Like you're watching, you know, gameplays. Like it's already what, $1 billion business. So
Yeah.
man,
And
that's
he said, okay,
here's
here's the 10 things you did wrong at Twitch. Like they basically he said, okay, we basically did everything wrong. The only reason why we survived is because we had our ego so much attached to this that we were not giving up until we finally got it right. We had a very low burn rate because they were living like college kids in one place, right? So very, very low cost. And what was the third? He mentioned the third thing, but that's basically, like they were kind of lucky. But actually, you don't really like, you can engineer a startup, right? Like you can just follow rules that are kind of obvious if you think about them, and make a successful startup.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, definitely I want to check on it because I'm trying. Me and some folks, we are trying to work on something. So yeah, so definitely.
And I think it's universally good. If you are just a normal schmo, if you watch that, you will learn a ton because it'll change the way you look at the world a little bit. And maybe you have some entrepreneurial spirit and like, oh, actually, I have a problem that I can solve super duper well. Then that'll also help. So I highly recommend.
No, for sure. Definitely, absolutely. Definitely share your details. I'll definitely look for the Y Combinator link. Because, man, I just want to say, man, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. To me, so I'm always like learning something new, and you always bring a refreshing take. So really appreciate it, man. Yeah. So
thanks.
I'm also
really
excited. Yeah, and I'm excited about the future for Ecash, and I think your guys, your time will come. So
I'm optimistic. Like some people in Ecash are a little worried. They're like, oh, we're like number 70 on CoinMarketCap and whatever. I'm like, no, like we're number 1, at least in my heart, because I know that Ecash has the best transaction processing, right? And that is what matters to me. Otherwise, it would be somewhere else, right? But yeah.
No, sure, yeah. But I also say, like, it's not just like the tech side, but also in terms of the messaging that you guys have and stuff. I know I feel it's kind of like throttle behind, but I think once you get your messaging out, what you guys are working on, I think I really believe you guys will get a lot of followers and a lot of builders and creators out there. So that's kind of my thing.
Seems good. We're growing. We got more, even though the market is down. We get more and more people working on that. We got a weekly, like almost weekly, call of builders. Talking about what they're doing. So it's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, and I guess like the last thing I want to share is because I know you guys have a lot of developers, a lot of tech people, but I think it would be also great to have you don't need to get like influencers and anything like that, not necessarily, but just like creative people, because that's something I recognize, being in the space and dealing with a lot of projects. I met some incredibly smart people, but in terms of what they're working on, how to connect to businesses, governments, whether you want governments or not, or different
this is so
groups.
important. Like people underestimate so much how valuable it is. Like on Pay to Stay, the co-founder I have, he is a complete boomer regarding technology. He knows how to use his phone, yes, but other than that, but he is so good at connecting people. Like it's incredible, so valuable. And so yes, I 100% agree. I think Ecash could do much better on that front. We have some good connections to exchanges and everything. But to other things, I think it could be better. But those will come with time.
Agreed.
I'm optimistic.
So at least from my side, look, I try to share people about Ecash. Give people a different perspective because because what I'm seeing out here it's just boring stuff. I mean, I guess what you guys are working on, and also like guys like Cyprian, I mean, incredible communicator. So I don't know how if he's directly involved with Ecash or he's.
Oh, he is. He's only working on Ecash. That's the only thing he's working on full time.
Oh, okay.
He's working on Ecash and taking care of his kids, basically.
Oh, see, but I'll tell you what, because like whatever the stuff he shares, like it's amazing marketing material, like amazing branding material, or like just communications. So the more people have like him, just getting putting himself out there, because I think one of the challenge I've seen in the space is some of the best people are building stuff, but they also the really great communicators, and guys like you, Cyprian, need to need to evangelize and like talk to people about what you guys are working on. But I know it's kind of hard, right? You're building
also
stuff. Yeah.
So Bitcoin fundamentally is a very as we see, and with Bitcoin I mean generally any blockchain, it's a fundamentally very religious project. Like you can see how people are like very fervent believers into this or that or this or that.
Yeah.
And I think that can never go away. So I'm also religiously believing that Bitcoin plus a stablecoin is the future. But we have to be careful that when we evangelize, we should I don't think we should evangelize to customers directly, but we should evangelize to builders, and almost only builders. Right, like we should be like, hey, if you are a smart person, or if you're a person that is good with connecting people, then I think you should come to our site, basically, or start, or like here's a incredible tool that you can use basically for free, and that could amplify your success a big time. But I don't think we should have these I really don't like this. Oh, we need to get more people investing in a token or whatever, and then evangelizing them. I think instead we should evangelize builders and connecting people that can get all the important people talking to each other.
Okay, I guess that's what. Yeah, I would sum it up too. I was not talking about how do you say, VC money or something like that. I guess in terms of
usually VC money is for a product, right? So if you have something that solves a problem, then I think VC money makes sense. But on the other hand, VC money often comes with a lot of strings attached, and so I'm always a little bit reluctant. But you get what I mean.
No, I totally get it. Yeah, no, I understand it, because you're right. I think a lot of new projects have come across. They do accept VC money, which is fine. But I think a lot of the VCs are seen. Also, I've seen they're not that seasoned though, and they shouldn't
this
be
is also something
too
that
much.
Michael Seibel says, that investors, the A-tier investor, he says, is someone who doesn't interfere much, because most investors aren't by nature they don't know your customer very well, right? Like you as entrepreneur should know your customer very well, and then the investor should be like, I looked at this very deeply. It looks very, very good. I'm going to sign you over the money, and I'm going to trust you that it's going to work, that kind of thing. And
right.
So as I said, we don't trust, or we shouldn't put too much into our investors, too much faith into our investors, and we should put more faith into entrepreneurs and problem solvers. Basically, entrepreneur is a problem solver that charges money.
No, sure, yeah. Because end of the day, you guys are on the ground, facing the market realities, So, and I guess investors, whether VCs or angel investors, I think their job is to make sure that, okay, look, you guys are the right deal, you have the right team, you have the right thesis, like what you guys are working on. So, yeah, so I think that part I can understand. So yeah, so yeah, and I think like for me, it's more about getting the word out there and letting people know, hey, there's some great products and amazing teams out there who are actually solving problems in the marketplace. So that has always been sort of like my my spiel. So so hopefully it's just like we need more voices out there to bring their awareness. So